Selfishness in the bedroom, an addiction to being right instead of being your teammate, fragility when life gets tough, inability to talk about the future and allowing you to become exhausted. Signs that a man is actually a boy and you are dating a boy in a man's clothing. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. Let's talk about this transition from boy to man, why you might be stuck with a man who is in fact an actual boy, and how to judge how far along that transition process he might be to decide what you should do next. After all, every man was once a boy and a boy doesn't get to choose his parents. So some men will be in a range along this spectrum, and you need to be able to assess where that is and how much it's going to affect your future relationship, possibly the future fatherhood skills of the man you're with, and how much he's shown a propensity to growth if he does have some boyish habits that he needs to tackle. Number one, selfishness in the bedroom. A true man takes pleasure from his wife or partner's pleasure. It's really as simple as that. A boy takes pleasure from his own pleasure. A man takes pleasure from his wife's pleasure. I deeply, truly believe that a true man, a real man, can feel his woman's heart, feel her pleasure. And so when she really opens up to him, whatever she loves, whatever she adores, when she loses herself in her pleasure and in her desire, he's going to be the most turned on. And so you'll know you're with a man when whatever is your deepest pleasure and deepest desire, he is fulfilling. And you can feel that he senses you and he gives that to you. He penetrates you with that and he owns that and he helps you just be in complete surrender to him. That is what a man does. A boy is just worried about getting off. He's worried about pleasuring himself. He's worried about doing what he wants. He's not sensing your pleasure in the situation. So, in all these cases, there are ways to give a guy feedback. There are conversational threads you can use, which isn't the focus of this video, but making sure that you have the conflicts around this, that you don't shy away from conflict, and that if necessary, you go to therapy or whatever you need to do with him to address these, because men need this growth and they need this feedback. Boys need to become men somehow. And even if you guys do end up splitting up, at least then he can go away with that feedback and be a great man for the next woman. Hopefully take that feedback on board. So the second is an addiction to being right instead of being your teammate. True partnerships are built out of being a teammate, but often as boys, we just want to be rebellious. We just want to be right. We just want to prove how smart we are. Now, hopefully we grow out of that phase, but some men, no matter what their age, will still be in that phase where you say black, they say white, you say white, they say black. Everything becomes a debate. Everything becomes an argument because they're still stuck in that phase of proving themselves. Unfortunately, what probably happened is somewhere in their earlier life, they had to overprove themselves and still feel like they failed at it. They wouldn't admit that, but deep down internally, they still feel that they need to prove how smart they are, how big they are, how great they are, how right they are, whatever it is. And so, or even how they can't be controlled and how masculine and manly they are from their independence and rebelliousness. Whatever it is, they're still trying to prove how they are. And so you'll see this in the relationship as he debates everything. He's just, no matter what it is, he wants to do it a different way to you. I'll put my hand up and say I've been guilty of this one at times. It was something I really had to learn through because I've always had a bit of a contrarian streak in myself. You know, you don't become a veterinarian, stripper, coach, exercise physiologist and sort of break out of the mold without a little bit of contrarian nature in you. But it was hurting my relationships, in fact, because it was almost like I wanted to do it my way. And if it wasn't my way, I'm like, nope, I'm smart. I want to do it my way. And it was always this thing where I felt I had to prove myself deep down. And it took me a long time to realize, actually, I can take feedback from a partner. Maybe I am doing it the wrong way. Put my ego aside and realize she can be very wise too to a situation and use her intuition in a situation to help steer me as a man. So it's not about submitting, but it is about understanding that there are times where my woman has an insight that I might not have realized and could gain and grow from. So an obsession with being right, him debating everything rather than working with you as a teammate is a strong sign he's still in a boy phase. Same situation as before. If you can get to therapy and if the guy's open to growth, you can work through it. But if not, you might have to let him go, let him think about it, let him grow, and then start afresh with the next woman. Number three, fragility when life gets tough. So one of the reasons I advise all clients to take time in dating is because you need to see a guy in different situations. Ideally, you need to see him triggered. You need to see him stressed. You need to see him when he's under some pressure. You know, I have a client at the moment and she's dating a man. She's just started dating a man and she's just being a little bit curious and he's still figuring out if he wants kids. So he's figuring that out. She knows she wants kids. So that's a clear possible incompatibility mismatch, but we're going in with our eyes wide open And she's making sure that she puts a good amount of healthy pressure on him as to understanding that, like, this is my timeline, it's not going to change, and these are the ramifications and resources that are going to be necessary to live this timeline. So every, fourth date or so, these conversations are coming up, and she's making it very, very clear by putting pressure on him that not to have necessarily a child with her, although that would what would happen if they stay together, but she's making it very, very clear, this is the life you're signing up to if you're with me. So she is really making sure that he's being a man about it and considering this. Again, it's not her responsibility to make him a man, but by asking the right questions and being very clear about her needs, she is basically testing him. She's forcing him, as women do, she's forcing him to grow, to be a better man either for her or for the next woman that he meets. So making sure that a guy, under whatever circumstance he's in, has a sense of resilience, doesn't become fragile and break. As many difficult situations as you can see him in as early as possible, that's what you want. This goes to what I was saying before, take some time before committing so you can see him in difficult situations, because you will not know someone until you see them under a deep amount of stress, as much as possible. Now, in the first few weeks dating someone, no matter how much you try, you're probably not going to be able to put them under the most amount of stress, but you can certainly see some of it, especially when you take more time. Fragility means that when life comes up, if he's a boy, when life throws challenges at you, you're then going to be the masculine. You're not going to be able to trust him and feel safe because he'll get fragile and he won't have the internal resources to look after himself and to ensure that his own needs get met so that that can flow through and he can meet yours. If he doesn't have that ability, you'll have to call on your own masculine energy to meet your own needs. And from there, you're going to become exhausted and resentful and you're going to want to break up with him. So fragility when life gets tough, sign that he is a boy and not in fact a man, and depending how he deals with it, he could be somewhere in between. So you're going to have to monitor that and trust your intuition to know whether or not, yep, he can grow through this, I can be with him, or nope, I've got to let him go. The fourth is an inability to talk about the future. So this, I'll also put my hand up as one I used to struggle with, because thinking about the future just really used to overwhelm me. I just used to think, I don't even, know if I'm going to live that long. I would make these excuses like, well, I can't predict the markets. I can't predict the house prices. I can't blah, blah, blah. I'd have all these excuses. This was me in my late 20s. I just wouldn't want to think about the future. Now, part of it was I was enjoying life as it was and I was very happy being present. But the other part was I was genuinely scared inside because I didn't fully trust myself to be able to create the future that I said that I wanted. I was scared. I wasn't sure. And if I can't trust myself, how can I ever expect a woman to trust me? So this was some of the friction in my earlier relationships was, well, how can she trust me? Eventually, my partner at the time picked up that, well, he's not solid in where he's going. So she became less solid in us, understandably so. And I wasn't ready for a long relationship at that time, hence why we broke up. So judging a guy on how he talks about the future, how certain he is in the future, and of course things can change, the future's never perfect, but looking at how he has those conversations and engages in those conversations with you is actually a really good and perhaps one of the simplest ways to read where a man is sitting along that boy to man scale. And the fifth, and perhaps the most important, is allowing you to become exhausted. If you're in a relationship and a man is letting you do all the work, and a common example of this is when you're living with someone and, maybe you're contributing like 40 or 50% to the bills and to the housework, and then you're also doing all the cleaning, maybe you're cooking for him, and you're just getting more and more exhausted, that is a boy you're with, not a man. Now, you do have to take responsibility for playing a part in the creation of that situation because you probably started doing all the cleaning, just because it's what you do and you notice the house first. So it's not that you're perfect, but you're dating a boy and you've got to challenge him to become a man by challenging him to step up for you. And you'll know this because if you're getting exhausted and you're just running the house, you're running, if you've got kids, you're running kids, if you're running your life from the masculine energy while he just contributes some work and is otherwise leaning back, then how can he do a modern relationship? You're going out there and working and you're contributing in all the ways and he's contributing in only one or two. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to resent him and you're going to just end up exhausted. You're not going to want sex with him. He's going to start wondering why. It's going to be a whole cascade of events that aren't going to be good for your relationship. So when a man truly loves a woman, when he's really invested in her, when a man, not a boy, when a man truly loves a woman, he's not going to let her get to that point. He's not going to let her get exhausted. He's not going to let you get exhausted. And he's going to step in with his own masculine energy when he sees you running too much of yours. So 5 ways to spot boys from men. Hopefully it gives you some guidance if you're currently dating someone who's maybe somewhere in the gray area, whether you can stay or go, or some of the conflicts that you can bring up to address and get more information about whether or not you should stay or go. Of course, when you're with someone, we don't just want to leave them on a dime unless it's really dire. We want to give that person an opportunity to change. There is such thing as too many opportunities, and there is also such a thing as too few. And that's where you have to use your intuition to really listen and say, okay, is this person willing and able and showing they're capable of making this change, or is it temporary or non-existent entirely? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to meet a man, not a boy, take advantage of my no man, no fee guarantee by booking a 1-to-1 consult. Link is in the bio. There's also a subscribe button if you want more videos and a little bell so you get notifications about them. Hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video and leave a comment below. What's the difference between a boy and a man that you have noticed in your dating experience? I'm excited to see it below. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.